They broke bones, cheated death, and kept the cameras rolling. From actors who survived plane crashes to stars who literally crawled out of war zones, these weren't movie stunts. This was real life. Today, we're diving into the 12 toughest actors in Hollywood history. Men who prove toughness isn't acting, it's lived. 1. Steve McQueen, the king of cool who never played it safe. He wasn't just called the king of cool, he earned it. Steve McQueen didn't need stunt doubles, didn't need bodyguards, didn't even need safety nets. In The Great Escape, 1963, that motorcycle jumps over barbed wire. Yeah, McQueen did it himself. No green screens, no safety gear, just raw adrenaline and a steel heart. But here's the part most people don't know. McQueen was already a survivor long before Hollywood. As a teenager, he ran with street gangs, got arrested multiple times, and was even shipped off to reform school. At 17, he enlisted in the Marines, and once, he literally saved 5 men from drowning during an Arctic training mission. When he became a movie star, the toughness didn't stop. McQueen once walked away from a plane crash without a scratch. He kept racing motorcycles professionally, even after becoming one of the highest-paid actors in the world. Why? Because for McQueen, danger was life. But here's the real question. Was his obsession with danger about proving something or running from something? Those close to him said he needed the risk. It was like oxygen. By the time cancer claimed him at just 50, McQueen had built a legend that still makes modern action stars look soft. And let's be real. How many actors today would risk their own life just to make a scene look real? Steve McQueen didn't just act tough. He was tough. And that's why Hollywood will never forget him. But McQueen was only the beginning, because the next name on this list didn't just risk his body, he destroyed it, over and over again. 2. Charles Bronson, from coal mines to cold-blooded legend. Charles Bronson didn't just look tough. He was forged in pain. Born into a poor coal mining family in Pennsylvania, he was the 11th of 15 children. His father died when he was just 10. By 16, Bronson was deep underground, working in the mines. He earned $1 a ton shoveling coal in complete darkness. Imagine this: a skinny teenager covered in soot, coughing up coal dust, and swinging a pickaxe while grown men around him dropped from exhaustion. That was Bronson's childhood. When World War II came, he didn't run from it. He enlisted in the Air Force as a tail gunner, one of the most dangerous positions in combat. Sitting in the back of a bomber, exposed to enemy fire with only seconds to react before being blown out of the sky. Bronson survived 25 missions. He came home with a Purple Heart. Hollywood never softened him. In Death Wish, 1974, his icy stare became iconic, but it wasn't just acting. That look came from a man who had actually stared death in the face. Here's the detail most fans miss. Off-screen, Bronson was so intimidating that even Hollywood tough guys avoided messing with him. James Coburn once said, "When Bronson walked into a room, you felt it. You didn't joke with him. You didn't cross him." Bronson wasn't flashy. He wasn't charming. He didn't care about celebrity gossip or Hollywood parties. He was quiet, disciplined, and carried himself like a man who had already seen too much of life's ugliness. Some called him cold. Others called him the real deal. But here's the bigger question. Would Charles Bronson even survive in today's Hollywood, where toughness is just choreography and green screens? Bronson came from the dirt, from war, from real scars, and that's what made him more than just another action star. He was Hollywood's iron fist, and no one ever forgot it. 3. John Wayne, the Duke who paid the price for toughness. John Wayne wasn't just Hollywood's cowboy. He was America's cowboy. That slow walk, the gravel voice, the way he filled the screen like a mountain of grit. For decades, he defined toughness. But behind the swagger was a man who lived with pain most of us can't imagine. Wayne's career almost ended before it began. In 1930, while working as a stuntman, he injured his shoulder so badly that doctors told him he might never act again. He ignored them. Instead, he powered through the pain and built himself into the most recognizable action star of his era. On screen, he fought wars, rode horses, and took punches like they meant nothing. Off screen, he fought a different kind of enemy, his own body. By the 1960s, years of smoking and grueling stunts caught up with him. In 1964, doctors removed his entire left lung and 4 ribs after diagnosing him with lung cancer. Any normal man would have retired, not Wayne. Just 5 years later, he starred in True Grit, 1969, riding, shooting, and brawling with one lung. He won his first and only Oscar. Here's the shocking detail. Even during surgery recovery, Wayne refused to let people see him weak. He practiced walking upright in the hospital, telling nurses, "The Duke doesn't crawl." But toughness has a price. Wayne eventually battled stomach cancer too, the final fight he couldn't win. Even then, he stared down death the way he did everything else, head on. The question is, was John Wayne really acting all those years? Or was he just showing us the man he already was? Because when you watch The Duke, you don't see an actor pretending to be tough, ikenor. You see a man who lived tough, suffered tough, and died tough. But while Wayne symbolized toughness, the next man earned it the hard way on the bloody battlefields of World War II. 4. Lee Marvin, the Hollywood brawler who survived war. Before he ever threw a punch on screen, Lee Marvin was fighting for his life in the Pacific. At 18, he enlisted in the Marines during World War II. Sut. In 1944, on Saipan, Marvin's unit stormed the beaches under heavy Japanese fire. He was shot in the buttocks, the bullet tearing through his body and shattering his sciatic nerve. He nearly died. He spent over a year in a naval hospital before being discharged. Most men would have been broken. Marvin came back meaner. On screen, he became Hollywood's silver-haired brawler, a man whose gravel voice and scarred face told you he had been there. In The Dirty Dozen, 1967, Marvin didn't need to fake the hardened war hero. He was one. Off-screen, his toughness sometimes turned reckless. Marvin drank hard, fought harder, and carried that Marine edge wherever he went. Friends said when Marvin entered a bar, everyone got quiet not because of fame, but because of danger. Here's a telling detail. Marvin once admitted he only became an actor because construction work didn't pay enough. "I just wanted beer money," he said. Yet somehow that blunt honesty made him more real than half the polished stars around him. Was Lee Marvin a great actor? Sure. But more than that, he was living proof that scars both visible and invisible create legends. 5. Clint Eastwood, the cowboy who refused to die. Clint Eastwood wasn't born tough. He was forged in near death. In 1951, Eastwood was just a young soldier in the Army, catching a free ride on a Navy bomber. Suddenly, the plane went down. It crashed into the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. Eastwood swam 3 miles through freezing shark-infested water, clinging to the wreckage until rescuers found him. Think about that. No cameras, no script. Just a 21-year-old nobody fighting for his life. That brush with death shaped him. When he later became the man with no name in Sergio Leone's westerns, his squint wasn't just acting, it was the look of a man who had already stared down the ocean and survived. Eastwood built his career on silence and steel nerves. In Dirty Harry, 1971, holding that .44 Magnum, he didn't shout or grandstand. He whispered danger. That restraint, that quiet toughness made him more terrifying than 100 screaming action stars. Then, even in old age, Eastwood refused to soften. He directed and starred in films well into his 80s, still riding horses, still carrying that same raw grit. Would Clint Eastwood have been the same without that crash? Probably not. That night in the ocean made him more than a cowboy. It made him immortal. 6. Jackie Chan, the man who laughed at pain. Jackie Chan broke almost every bone in his body, and he smiled through it. Forget stunt doubles. Jackie built a career on risking his neck in ways Hollywood insurance companies begged him not to. In Police Story, 1985, He slid down a 70-foot pole covered in electric lights, his hands burned to the bone. He needed stitches in both palms. In Armor of God, 1986, he fell 25 feet onto a rock, cracked his skull, and had to have a piece of his bone replaced with plastic. For months, he had permanent hearing loss. And here's the wild part. He went back to work as soon as he could stand. Jackie turned pain into comedy. He showed audiences that toughness isn't just about looking dangerous, it's about getting up when everyone else would quit. He once said, "We do stunts not to look cool, but to make people laugh. Pain is temporary. Movies are forever." Think about that. Most actors fake fights on green screens. Jackie Chan risked his life just to make you smile. How many action stars today would take a fractured skull and still run back to the set? Almost none. That's why Jackie isn't just an action star. He's a one-man army, a man who redefined toughness not with guns, not with scowls, but with bruises, laughter, and the sound of bones breaking. 7. Bruce Lee, the dragon who moved like lightning. Bruce Lee wasn't just an actor. He was a storm. When Lee stepped on screen, you didn't see choreography. You saw speed that cameras could barely catch. In fact, directors often had to slow down his fight scenes because otherwise audiences wouldn't believe what they were seeing. But Bruce's toughness wasn't just about fists, it was about philosophy. He trained his body like a weapon, relentless push-ups on his fingertips, punches so fast that they hit before you blinked. His famous 1-inch punch could knock a man flat from just inches away. Here's a vivid detail. In 1962, at a demonstration in Seattle, Bruce lined up a volunteer with a phone book on his chest. He tapped him with that 1-inch punch. The man flew back into a chair, gasping for air. The crowd froze. Bruce just smiled. But his real toughness came from breaking barriers. Hollywood didn't want an Asian lead. Lee fought against racism, humiliation, and rejection. He opened schools. He taught students like Steve McQueen and James Coburn. He said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." Then came tragedy. In 1973, at just 32, Bruce Lee collapsed and died. The world mourned. But legends don't die, they multiply. Was Bruce Lee the toughest actor in Hollywood history? Maybe. Or maybe he was something more, a man who turned toughness into art. 8. Sylvester Stallone, the underdog who refused to stay down. When Sylvester Stallone wrote Rocky, he was broke. He sold his dog just to buy food. A week later, he begged the buyer to sell the dog back, and he did, for $15,000. Stallone didn't just write Rocky, he was Rocky. But his toughness wasn't only in his story, it was in his body. During Rocky IV, 1985, Stallone insisted on filming real punches with Dolph Lundgren. After one brutal shot to the chest, Stallone's heart swelled. His blood pressure shot up to dangerous levels. Doctors rushed him to intensive care. He nearly died, all for a movie scene. Then came Rambo. Stallone dislocated shoulders, broke ribs, and even tore tendons during filming. Instead of quitting, he wrapped himself up and kept shooting. Here's the crazy part. Stallone once said he felt more alive when he was hurt. Pain reminded him he was still fighting. Today, he's in his 70s, still training, still making action movies. Is it pride or obsession? Maybe both. But one thing's certain, Stallone didn't just play tough guys. He lived like one, beaten, scarred, and always ready for another round. 9. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the machine who conquered Hollywood. Before Hollywood, Arnold was a farm boy in Austria. He grew up poor, in a cold house with no plumbing. His father, a strict policeman, called him weak. Arnold swore he'd prove him wrong. He did. At 20, Arnold became the youngest man to win Mr. Universe. He trained until his muscles literally tore, pushing past limits no human body should. He once said, "The last 3 or 4 reps is what makes the muscle grow. That pain is what separates a champion from someone else." Then came Hollywood. Studios laughed at his thick accent. They mocked his name. Too long, too foreign, too strange. Arnold didn't care. He bulldozed his way into history with Conan the Barbarian, 1982, then cemented himself as the Terminator, 1984. On set, he carried real swords, real weights, real pain. In The Terminator, he barely spoke, but his presence was enough to terrify millions. That wasn't acting. That was raw intimidation. But Arnold's toughest battle wasn't just in gyms or on screen. It was discipline. Day after day, rep after rep, when nobody was watching. He turned pain into power, and power into legacy. Was he human? Or was he truly the machine Hollywood made him out to be? 10. Tom Cruise, the madman who does his own stunts. Most actors pretend to be heroes. Tom Cruise insists on becoming one. He doesn't need CGI. He doesn't want stunt doubles. He wants the real thing, even if it means risking his life. In Mission: Impossible Rogue Nation, 2015, Cruise clung to the side of a military cargo plane as it lifted into the sky. No wires, no fake shots, just Tom strapped to the door, with the wind blasting his face at 250 miles per hour. In Fallout 2018, he leapt from building to building, miscalculated, and shattered his ankle on camera. Did he stop? No. He limped across the rooftop to finish the shot. And then came Top Gun, Maverick 2022. Cruise didn't just act like a pilot. He trained in real fighter jets, pulling G-forces that would knock most men unconscious. Why? Why risk everything when he could hire professionals to do it? Maybe it's ego. Maybe it's an obsession. Or maybe for Cruise, the danger is the role. He once said, "I want to entertain the audience. If I have to put my life on the line, so be it." That's not just toughness. That's insanity and genius. 11. Danny Trejo. From prison cells to Hollywood sets. Danny Trejo's toughness didn't come from a gym. It came from survival. By the age of 12, he was hooked on drugs. By his 20s, he was in and out of some of the toughest prisons in America: San Quentin, Folsom, Soledad. Inside, he became a boxing champion, feared and respected by inmates. He learned discipline the hard way behind bars, surrounded by violence every day. Then came the twist. Trejo turned his life around. After getting clean, he stumbled into acting by accident, helping a young actor with boxing training on a movie set. The director saw his tattoos, his scars, his presence. Suddenly, Trejo wasn't just another extra. He was Hollywood's most authentic tough guy. From Machete to Heat, Trejo never had to fake the look of a man who's been through hell. He lived it. And yet, beneath the scars, Trejo became a hero off-screen too. He's helped countless addicts recover, speaking openly about his past. In 2019, he even rescued a child from a car crash in Los Angeles, or mate. Danny Trejo proves toughness isn't about muscles or money. It's about surviving your own demons and coming out stronger. 12. Dwayne Johnson. The modern giant who never quits. Dwayne The Rock. Johnson was built in the ring, but before fame came failure. At 23, his dream of playing professional football ended with one phone call. He was broke, living in a tiny apartment with only $7 in his pocket. That moment could have crushed him. Instead, he turned to wrestling. And there, under hot lights and brutal slams, he became The Rock, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. But wrestling is no fake toughness. Johnson tore ligaments, broke ribs, and kept performing through injuries that would sideline athletes for months. Night after night, city after city, he got back up when his body begged him not to. Inwa, Hollywood came calling. And unlike most wrestlers turned actors, Johnson didn't just make cameos, he took over. From Fast Furious to Jumanji, he transformed himself into the highest paid actor in the world. But here's the secret. Johnson's real toughness isn't just physical, it's mental. Waking up at 4 a.m. to train, eating 7,000 calories a day to maintain his size, smiling through exhaustion because millions expect The Rock to be larger than life. You see, toughness isn't always loud. Sometimes it's consistency, and no one in modern Hollywood embodies that more than Dwayne Johnson. They broke bones, faced death, and carved their names into Hollywood forever. More. But if you think these actors were tough, Wait until you hear about the ones who vanished mysteriously, never to be seen again. Subscribe because that story is coming next.